This is Build It Baby, the show for big ideas, brave pivots, and bold next chapters. So let's do it. Let's build it, baby. I'm Penelope Bent here with my brilliant producer, Morgan Clymer, and this is Build It Baby. Whether you're starting a business, shifting careers, or rewriting your life story, you already have what you need. So let's get started. Let's build it, baby. So here's my question for our listeners today. What is your idea? Now, what do I mean by that? What is something that's been floating around in your head? A thought pops into your head. It feels right. It inspires you. And it's something that you've been thinking about creating. Something maybe that our world needs that is better than the way it's being done. Perhaps you're wanting to create a new technology, a new way of doing something that's outdated. Maybe it's an idea of starting a particular type of a store that you've thought about, that's bounced around in the back of your head and that feels good. It inspires you. It makes you want to get out there and really share something new with the world. What is that idea? I know that so many of us will have ideas, they pop into your head and you think it's so brilliant. And then after you think about it in a minute, you immediately go to all the billion reasons why you can't do it, or why who in the hell do I think I am to create it? And then you let it float out of your head. But from time to time, it kind of hangs back there in the recesses of your mind. And in those times when you feel positive and energetic, that idea will pop back in your head. So again, my question is, what exactly is your idea? And why not consider making it happen? Creating that something that you have this desire. This is when the universe kind of nudges you and asks you to come out to play. That's what I think ideas are. It's kind of a nudge from the universe going, okay, you want to create? Well, come out here and play with me. I've created all of this gigantic universe and life for you. Why don't you create alongside of me? So that's what I think that idea, that little nudge, that intuition, that maybe, just maybe, you could make this happen and it would be a benefit to all of us. And once I realized that, someone pointed out to me years ago that everything that we see was an idea. I mean, the airplane was an idea. Those guys got together and went through the trials and the tribulations to create something that actually flew. That's amazing to me. It was just an idea. Ideas are incredibly powerful, and I really firmly believe that the ideas that are floating around in the recesses of your mind are benefits to all of us and would perhaps make our lives easier or make them more creative or more enjoyable or more beautiful. I remember hearing a story about this scientist did a study with some aphids, and they had these aphids that, according to this conversation, didn't have any wings, but they would eat plants and so on and so forth. So this scientist put a little baby rose bush next to the aphids, and they were hungry. And so what eventually happened, according to the story, is that the aphids actually grew wings to be able to jump over to the little blooming rosebush plant on the windowsill so that it would have something to eat. Now, I don't know how valid that story is, but it always resonated with me. Did the fish want to fly so it grew some wings and became a bird? I mean, how much of the desire is the component here? So are your desires, your idea bringing you wings? Does the desire of the idea give you all the pieces and parts that you need to make it happen? I believe that it does. I believe that if you really desire something and you really want to create it, that all the stars will line up, maybe not in the perfect pattern, but it will help bring the creation to life. I think we should all be bringing something amazing to pass. We have all we need. We just need to make a plan, to create a formula. I talk to brilliant people all the time in my recruiting company, and they are so good at what they do, and yet in so many areas they're so unhappy with the way their lives are going, but they have an idea. The idea is to maybe jump into something new, or to build something new, or to make a dramatic change in their lives. And so I think that it's really important to understand that every idea can be created in our reality. We just need to grab hold of it and really start to nurture it. Almost like you're planting a seed. The idea is the seed. If you plant the seed in your mind and you nurture it and you water it and you baby it and you pay attention to it, then there's no reason why that idea cannot become a reality. So regardless of what you are wanting to build out there, what your idea is, I really want to encourage you to take the next step. If you knew that it would be a success, whatever your idea, whatever this choice is, this direction that you want to head in, if you believed that there was no way in God's green earth that you could possibly fail, then I bet everybody would start creating the lives that they want and start building the businesses that they have always kind of dreamed about in the back of their minds. I believe that those ideas are there for a reason. Those ideas are to expand, to help you expand, to help us expand. I think the universe is constantly wanting to expand, constantly wanting to see new things come to the forefront. So rather than feeling like, this is an impossible thing to do, what about the next time that idea pops into your head, you kind of gather a little bit of confidence with the universe that, well, maybe this is a possibility. Maybe I can build that business that I've been wanting to build. I remember my father saying when I was growing up that he would give anything to get into the restaurant business. He was a very social, outgoing guy. He loved to cook and wanted to entertain the idea of getting into the restaurant business. But that business never went any further than just it being an idea. He ended up continuing to stay in the profession, which I do think that he enjoyed. But I think at the end of the day, there was a part of him that wished that he had really thrown out the idea and maybe looked at it a little bit further, took it a little bit further, did a little bit more investigating. Don't poo-poo your idea before you even wrote it down on a piece of paper. That's not fair to the universe. That's not fair to you. That's not fair to us. I think we're all here as creative beings, and the joy is in my belief anyhow, is in the creative process. I'm always up for creating a new something, or helping someone create something that is formed from just that, an idea. So the next time you go into, an amazing furniture store, just remember that all those designs were created from someone's imagination. The way that the line of the chair that's so unique came from someone's mind. The way you walk into a garden, a beautiful garden, that was all created by someone. It was a creation that was in someone's mind, that they made, that they developed, that they brought to life. So everything starts with what we're thinking, what we're focusing on, and then taking that idea and going a step further. So here's the part where I tell you exactly what I know. These are my knowings, the things I no longer question because they've shown themselves to me again and again. Not from a book, but from building, getting knocked down, getting back up, and doing this work in the real world. So here are my knowings when it comes to ideas. So the next time you get the idea, I want you to try these 5 or 6 points. Number 1 is focus on the idea, not the obstacle. Now, last week we talked a lot about obstacles. So I gave you my 411 on the obstacle issue. But most people actually spend 90% of their time focused on why they can't do something rather than knowing that you can do this, knowing that all of the pieces and parts will be provided for. I don't know how that works. All I do is know that it does work. By nature, we combine with what we focus on the most. If you focus on the obstacle, by God, that obstacle will grow so big, it will be a gigantic boulder sitting in your path. But if you focus on building your idea, a path will become clear and easy to navigate. So keep focusing on the idea. Keep thinking about, okay, how could I, if given all the right pieces and parts, how could I really make this happen? And then, secondly, start to make a loose plan and take a look at where you are. Are you in a current job situation? We've got to keep the money coming in for the family and so on and so forth. But you really want to kind of start working on this plan a little bit. So when I was in the modeling and acting business and taught models and actors how to develop freelance businesses, one of my most important strategies in that business program was how much time are you devoting to your modeling and acting business? And remember, most of the actors and models that I worked with, they were professionals from doctors to VPs of sales divisions and stay-at-home moms to very successful executives. So these were very smart men and women. And what I would always suggest to them is that they take Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, only a couple hours every Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, maybe 2 to 3 hours, and really work on their modeling and acting business. Now, that could be sending your resume out if you're looking for a career. I mean, how many hours a week are you sending your resume out? If you're wanting to build something, how much time are you spending on doing the research and the development of the product? It only takes a couple of hours, 2 or 3 days a week. But here's the key. It's consistency. You have to gain momentum. You have to be consistent. So every week, make your notes, get your little accomplishments that you want to accomplish that morning, and then shut the book on it. The next day, do a little bit more. Maybe on Tuesdays and Thursdays, you reach out for research and development. Maybe on Wednesday, you're looking at the design, maybe how the offering is going to be presented, and so on and so forth. But whatever you do, set these non-negotiable periods of time that you will actually work on your business. In my coaching business, I chat with a lot of wonderful young people who are wanting to start their own business, and they're just getting out of college and so on, and they want to get into a certain area. But I find that it's really interesting when I say, well, okay, why don't we do this on Thursday? Well, I can't do that because that's my yoga class. Or I couldn't possibly do this on that day because, I like to run in the morning. Well, try to make those adjustments. If this is really important and a desire for you and you want to give it wings, you have to spend time in the creative process, thinking about it, putting it, paper to pen. And this doesn't need to be a goal list. It just needs to be a loose plan of what you're putting together. Number 3, get organized. You have to be before you are. Now, let me repeat that. You have to be before you are. So this is a great story that I read way back when. This particular person was unemployed. She was looking for a job. She'd had only so much time left for savings and for severance pay and so on and so forth. And so what she did was she created in her home a desk, some office space, and even though she didn't have an office to go to, she went into her desk every day, dressed for business, went in, made some notes, but she created the job before she had the job. She created the physical environment of the job, and she went in and sat there and worked on her notes, worked on who she needed to reach out to, worked on sending her resumes out, and so on and so forth, like I mentioned. Another interesting story about be before you are is of a woman who was really desiring a life partner. And she had not met anyone, had joined this networking thing and that networking gathering, and just didn't find the right someone. And so what she did was she created a place setting at dinner every night where this man of her dreams was going to be having dinner with her. And she designated one of her easy chairs just for the man of her dreams. And she created a space, an opening for that man to be able to come into her reality and to be able to have dinner with her. In both of these situations, because these folks created their be now, their opening, their physical reality, they opened it up to accommodate what they were wanting to bring into their lives, into their world. So it's very important to bring your idea into your reality. Set up a space, create a name for your company or whatever the idea is, and start addressing it as though it is in your reality now. It may not be the beginning idea, it may not be what the end result is, but you're getting started. You're moving the energy. You're headed in the right direction. Number 4, do your research, define and refine, make it fun. Really look at the possibilities of what you want to create. What's the variety look like? What could the final product really develop into? Don't hold back. Make it big. If you want to attach the amount of money you want to make to it, then go ahead and do so. Make that part of your strategy. This is the income that I want to bring in. Therefore, this is how I want to define my offering. Who's your clientele going to be? If it's a career, what kind of a job am I looking for? If it's a life partner, what kind of a partner do I really want? What are all the details? Do I want someone that knows how to put their clothes in the laundry basket? I mean, get into the details of what this idea is to you. And then number 5, when you are ready, speak the word. Your word is so valuable in relationship to the creative process in our universe. You might want to even think about getting a business card that has the name of your new business. And when you're at a networking, join a networking group that you could go in and represent yourself as, I'm the owner of yada yada. Words are powerful creative elements. They help you get there before you're ready to get there, because I don't know about you, but I am such a chicken shit when it comes to most things. Everyone thinks I'm so brave and courageous, and in reality, I've read every book known to man on fear. I have overcome obstacles, and I am still pedaling along doing my thing, but I have found that when I can speak to what I'm building, that those words become they're very powerful because they make the idea very real. And I think I mentioned in the first podcast that when I was developing the online magazine that ran for 7 or 8 years and was very successful, the first person I ever mentioned it to was a bus driver, because I was on the way to my studio and I decided, when he asked me what I was doing for a living, I said, I've just started an online magazine. And that was the first person I ever mentioned it to, because I'm such a chicken. But anyhow, that was part of the creative process. And that helped me bring that dream, that desire, that idea into a reality. And then lastly, I think this is really important. And I want you to think a bit about this. It's really helpful to create some words of assurance for yourself. In life, so many of us depend upon others to give us assurance and tell us that we're good folks and the idea is brilliant. But that doesn't always happen. Actually, it happens less than more, in my experience anyhow. But if you can begin to create words of assurance, it could be when you wake up in the morning and you say to yourself, all good is mine now. My surroundings are protecting me, and the universe is delivering me the knowledge that I need. The answers to my questions are on their way. My success is assured. It is the law of the universe. I can build this. I have the confidence in myself. And I think the one thing I know for sure is that I may not have the confidence in myself, but I sure as hell have confidence in the universe. And I know that if I throw it out there and it's something good that can be of benefit for others, then all the little parts and pieces, all the things that I was concerned about will all of a sudden become very minor details that can be defined and refined over time. So I do believe that we have all we need. You have the idea. And I think that we're all meant to create, to bring ideas, to cultivate wonderful, helpful, nurturing ideas that will help all those on this planet and help us grow. The universe is expanding, and with that, we must be expanding as well. So as we go through this long journey called life, forever expanding, that just keeps the ride, on the roller coaster. We get to still hang on, and we don't have to jump off. We can still keep creating and still keep bringing something to the table. So those are my knowings when it comes to ideas. And I do encourage you with all my heart to keep thinking and bring those ideas closer to the surface and make them happen. So those are my knowings. Okay, well, it's time for our listener questions. So from our inbox, what do you have for me, Morgan?
Okay, so today's question is from Marlise in San Diego, California, and she would like to know, how do I design and define my offering?
Wow, this is a great question in the build. Great question. So, one of the things that I have done from the very, very beginning is I always look at what my competition is doing. So, for example, when I was started in the photographic industry early on, I went and studied all the upscale photographic studios in Northern California area and looked at how they defined their products. And I definitely looked at their pricing. I looked at what they were offering. And most importantly, I do this all the time, I look at how they're expressing their offering. So I've been working on this recently on Recruiter Mania. I wanted my offering to be something different. I've always been that way. I don't know why it is, but I always want to build something that's not been done exactly that way. When I put the Fuse freelance modeling and acting program together, I wanted to create businesses for models and actors. I wanted them to know they didn't always have to have an agent, that they could actually create a business for themselves. So I'm always wanting to do it a new way, different way. Maybe it's a similar way, but with a little bit of a twist. So when you are putting your idea, your offering of your idea together, research and investigating what others are doing, I think is really essential in respecting the way they're making their offering. And then kind of sitting back with your own idea, your own way of sharing and creating from there. So you're defining your offering in a manner, in a way that is different than the average duck out there. Maybe you're giving it more of a human aspect. I think with AI today, I'm really aware of a lot of AI coming into the recruiting industry. And I not too long ago had to have an interview actually with an AI recording. And the recording would say, well, how long have you done this, Penelope? And I'd answer and they'd say, oh, perfect, Penelope. And then they'd ask me another question and then I'd answer and the recording would go, oh, that's wonderful, Penelope. And part of me just wanted to answer the question like, you're so full of shit. And I'm sure I would have gotten the same, oh, you're amazing, Penelope. So I think that today I'm wanting to make sure that I have a human relationship with all of the clients that we support in the recruiting industry. And I think that's the same with just about any offering that you're making. I think it's making and defining it to give it merit in today's world, speaking in a manner that is understood by folks that will be needing your product and service. The more defined your service, your offering, and the clearer that you make your narrative, the better. And, you all have heard about the elevator pitch, that you should be able to, within the time the elevator goes from one floor to another, be able to describe what your company is about. So that's a great way to start defining what the final product is going to look like. The other thing, too, that I've discovered recently is you only have a very short period of time to make a very, very strong impact. I noticed that when I was working on the online fashion magazine and we would ask for articles, the best articles were within 300 words. Anything over that, and you'd really basically lost your reader. So I think it's important when you have your tagline. What is your tagline that defines your company, defines your offering? That is a super, super important piece of the puzzle. Defining that tagline in a matter of a few words, and then redefining it, tightening it up, and making sure that everything aligns with what you are bringing to the table, with integrity. Don't overpromise. Promise what you know you can deliver. And I'll tell you something, I am a real firm believer in this, and I've lost just a shitload of money from time to time because of this belief. But if you say you're going to do something and you promised a client that you were going to deliver X, Y, or Z, and even if the price had gone up for what it cost you to deliver it, or you had a snag, then too bad. You made the promise. That was your commitment to your client, and you need to deliver your offering based on what you promised them, even if it costs you money. Because that's your word. That's your legacy behind your company. That's who they're going to trust. They're going to trust you if you say what you mean and you mean what you say. And I'm telling you, that is not something that's necessarily the most popular aspects of business nowadays. But I think if you want to be in business for the long haul, or you want to live a life that is positive and joyful, then I think those are things that need to weave in there. The other piece that I think is really important when you're making your offering and you're sharing, someone is paying you money, make sure that the offering is well within the boundaries of what you are able to deliver, and that when you say that you are able to deliver on such and such a date, then by God, deliver it a few days early, but no later than the date that you made the commitment. So when you define and design your offering, make sure that it is realistic, that you know that come hell or high water, you can make that happen. Some of the most intense times that I ever had in business was that when I owned my studios, I always had an in-house beauty salon. Well, hell, I don't know how to cut hair. I did learn how to become a makeup artist if I had to, but that always made me a nervous wreck, because I was so nervous that what if this big shoot today and the hair designer didn't show up? I needed to make sure that those people showed up on time. So I was one of those that always liked to make sure that I knew how to do it, just in case I had to jump in there and make it happen, because that was the commitment that I had made to my client. So as you put this together, make sure you add all those parts and pieces into designing and defining your offering. It's a bigger and it's probably one of the most important tasks that you will ever have in creating your business. It will be one of the most defining tasks when it comes to your reputation. And it should be one of the most financially successful decisions that you make, that you know that you have done the numbers, you've incorporated enough profit in there to make sure that you meet your overhead and meet the needs and requirements of your company or your family or whoever you're putting that all together. So that's my answer to design and define. It's a great question. It's a very, very big question. It has a lot of different elements, and I hope I answered a few. If not, send it back through to me, and I will continue on and try to help as much as I possibly can. Well, this has been fun. I hope you have enjoyed our Build It Baby podcast today. I've had a really, really great time. I know there's ideas floating around in your head, so I just want to remind you, you already have what you need. Now's the time to take the next step. Thanks for joining us on Build It Baby. If today's episode sparked something in you, share it with someone who's ready to rise. We'll be back next Tuesday, same place, same mission. And most importantly, keep thinking, keep listening, and keep building from your heart. Our world needs what you're here to create. Always best, P. Build It Baby is a Rainy Day Production House original, hosted by Penelope Bent and produced and edited by Morgan Clymer. Music by Yuri Shemshashin and Oleksiy Holobiev. If this episode spoke to you, please follow the show and leave a review. It helps more dreamers like you find us. And remember, you're not just building a bold business or a career, you're building a bold life.